Alright, so I'm working on taking this whole housing off of this oil cooler here, and we've got like 10 bolts that go all the way around this thing, and just used my pneumatic to get those loose. So now we're just going to get all these bolts out and get this thing lifted up. We'll use the putty knife just like we did on the one back there, so as not to damage anything, because they kind of want to stick at first. Okay, this oil cooler housing and everything actually just lifted right off of there. Didn't even have to use the putty knife. I just gave it a little tug and it come right up. It wasn't stuck like the cover for the pump back there. But I just want to show you, like, as I've lifted this up, this is the first few things that I've found here. Got this spring here with a piece of plastic. It's melted there. I'm not even for sure as to where that came from, but it's laying right there anyways. And this piece down here that filters the oil going, the screen is completely gone, and it was melted down as well. And I'm sure it's going to be stopped up down in there, so I'm going to have to dig around in there and see what I can come up with. I may have to take that back off back there again to get it cleaned out properly. But this here, I'm assuming this came from my housing up here, but I'm not really sure. Not really sure what that is at this point. So said I'm gonna have to do some investigative work here and see what I can come up with. But this is where we're at this point. And like I said, this truck got hot. Surprisingly, it still has compression, not really good compression, but it still has a 300 and up. I think the lowest was 300, but it had as high as 400. I'm really surprised that it has that good of compression. So like I said, I'm not wanting to put any money in it, but I'm just curious as to whether or not I can even get this thing to run at all. So I'm going to try to get this cleaned up and we'll follow up. Okay, so I've got this oil cooler tank cover out of here, and I've got it in a tank here because it's really messy and I'm going to pour oil and stuff out. But we've got a couple of 13 millimeters here and here that we're going to need to remove, so we're going to go ahead and take those out real quick. Okay, after taking those 13s out of that other side, it felt like there was still something holding it, so come to this side here. I believe there is something else, another bolt or something, but we come to this other side. We've got a lot of Torx of various sizes. These are T30s, and then these bigger ones here are going to be T45s. Like I said, they just run all around here, and we're just going to take and just leave them where they're located so I don't get them mixed up for now. Okay, so we've just carefully pried those covers up and off of there a little bit. And so I'm just going to be, looks like we got some pieces of the seal, and I'm finding pieces of plastic in here as well. Okay, and after wiping that off a little bit, it reveals that 13 millimeter nut that you see right there. And that's a stud that's on that oil cooler. And I was thinking there was another one. That's like the first one that you'll put down in there and put on. So we get that removed, this oil cooler will slip out of here now. Okay, after a little more cleaning, correction, there's actually two of them. There's another one right here as well. So you got in the center, you got one here, and then up here right in between these two ports. Okay, I've already got it knocked through there, but when you go to take this out, take a socket of the appropriate size, and you will hit that piece that's down here. You'll hit them right around this with a socket or something of the appropriate size. Just hit there and hit there, and it'll fall out of there, because those O-rings really hold that on there good. So you got to give it a pretty good little whack, and I just use my rubber mallet. So now we got that out of there, we'll just go about cleaning this up a little bit and see what kind of damage we got down in here with the plastic and stuff. Okay, and here's this oil cooler housing, and I've done quite a bit of cleaning on this. I'm just putting it back together now. If you'll take and put some petroleum jelly around these seals on your oil cooler, it'll slide in there a lot easier, because it's a really tight, snug fit. Right now I'm just going about putting this thing back together. But I've got it cleaned up and got all the debris out of it, and we're going to get it back in the truck. Okay, we've got our two 13mm nuts in there, and now we're just going to flip it over here and get these two 13mm in the back here. Okay, I put this piece, I slipped it back on there like so. Then we're going to put this cap back on here and get those bolts in there. We got the seal on this other piece. We're just going to go ahead and get this set back down and get all of our torques into place for that now. Okay, now we're tightening these torques. The T45s here, we have went 192 inch-pounds, and then on the smaller T30s, we went 89 inch-pounds on those. Okay, I've put me a new screen in here, and I'm just getting ready to set my whole oil cooler housing and everything back on there. I want to also point out that this has to be really clean, like just sterile clean. I used brake cleaner, vacuum, absolutely no debris, no lint, anything in here. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and just put this housing back on here and work on torquing it down. Okay, so we got all these 10mm in, and we're just getting ready to tighten these, and I'm going to go 23 foot-pounds on these. This thing here for removal, I'm just thinking about this. You have to line up this little notch. There's a little notch right there that you can see. It has to line up with that line on that. There's like two little shark bite connectors that have to line up with tabs on this spout, and when you get that lined up, it allows you just to slip that off of there, and it will come off. Let me show you. And you can see those little tabs right there. Those are what grip around that spout, and you can see these on the sides. When it gets lined up with that, it'll come off there. So basically that notch has to be straight up and down, and basically it lines up with this notch right here, and it allows for removal of that. And then to put it back on, you just snap it right back into place once you get it started there, and it'll just give it a little twist, and it'll go right back on, and like that. But anyways, that's all there is to that. Okay, I got another IPR that I'm going to try out. This one was from a from a salvage yard, so, but it's going to be better than the one I had, I'm sure, with all the plastic in it. And I know they make a special wrench for this. I just use my crescent wrench and it works just fine. So I'm just putting this back on, and I'm going to work on I guess getting the EGR cooler back on here, and just going to go through putting all this back together now at this point.